So this is Carpi. This is Via Peruzzi. And this is a place you can leave your camper. It's much quieter than it is in the other place at the Piscina. To my right we've got the cemetery. If you don't like being next to cemeteries, well, that might be a bit of a problem. But otherwise it's very quiet here. But the advantage above all of this place, other than the peace and quiet you can enjoy here, is the closeness it is to the centre. My vehicle's here. I heard that you weren't actually allowed to park on this part, that you needed to be over the other side, but there's no signs up. So I think it's okay. And now we'll have a look around Carpi, and it's got this fantastic piazza, which we will shortly come to. So we have there the local weekly newspaper. They did a very nice article about me. And to the left we can see it's part of a monastery, in fact, was a monastery. And we can see the wood around it. And we want to see a lot of that because unfortunately that is all earthquake damage. There was an earthquake here in May 2012. So it's now the 20th of February 2016. So there's a better view. I believe it's 17th century. So we'll come round in this direction. A real estate developer bought this land here, maybe to do some flats like the ones we see in front. However, during excavations, this turned up part of the medieval city wall, and that put an end to his real estate development. And I heard the company now has serious trouble because of that. Now here, there's a covered market. This used to be the gate of the city that led to Modena, hence the name Porta Modena. This building here was a factory which made straw hats, and it was converted. Unfortunately, of around 9 or 10 retail units that were once open in there, only 3 are open now, which is undoubtedly a pity. I don't know why that was not a success. This is Piazza Garibaldi, and we're now going to walk down this pedestrian street here, and that will take us into the main piazza. But this square itself is quite lively, quite busy. Although I've got to say that many of the times I've been here, even during the day, it was pretty dead. The first day I came here, it was Friday around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and there's hardly anybody here. I should have filmed then, I guess. One distinguishing feature about Carpi are these colonnades, which you can see in several streets in the historic centre. town hall is on the right. I heard a good one yesterday that in the case of another earthquake, they don't want the town hall employees to be in there, so they're going to find a new place for them. Never mind the fate of those who will be in there afterwards, of course. This is the main square. It's called Piazza Martiri, which means the Martyrs' Piazza. Now, to the left here, that's a former synagogue. It was built, or was converted into a synagogue around the 1860s. It was in use until 1922. Today it is used for the organisation which takes care of the former camp at Fossili. A ghetto was actually established here, so Jews were forced to live on the left and the right hand side of the road here, but fortunately it was actually enclosed only a very short time, unlike other ghettos which happened in the Papal States. A second synagogue is somewhere on the roof, although it's I should say in the attic. But it's inaccessible at present, but it may be in the future. That's the theatre. Got the stage up there. 68. Just after the unification of Italy. The building we see there is the cathedral, and as can be seen, it's suffering from damage caused by the earthquake. It's being repaired. These repairs are expected to conclude, well, maybe 2019, 2018, it's not so very clear at present. There has been a little bit of a problem within the church, but what got done first? Do they do the cathedral first, or do they do the churches first? And this has caused arguments between priests. The building here, this is the Pio Palace, and that was started in the 14th century. And the Pios being a family who controlled Carpi for a period of a couple hundred years or so in the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries. The oldest part is that building there, that tower, that dates to 1320. It's also the highest part of the palace. Inside the palace, there are various museums, including a museum to the people who were deported from here during the Second World War via the transit camp at Fossili, which is about 5 or 6 kilometres to the north of here, and people were taken from Fossili to various camps, including Auschwitz, and Primo Levi, for example, was one of the people who later wrote a book called Is This a Man? Or Is This Man? Depending on the translation. And he was transported from Fossili to Auschwitz. So you can see from this plaque the names of the 16 people who were killed here on the 16th of August 1944. The martyrs who gave the name to this square. Here we've got a view on these these concrete slabs with the names of places where people were murdered by the Nazis. Some of them are rather badly written, as we shall be seeing. In here, this is a room which is part of the Deportation Museum. I personally wasn't particularly impressed by the Deportation Museum, but being a historian specialised in the Holocaust, I suppose, I was perhaps thinking it's going to be a bit better. This is the oldest part of Carpi. The church and the tower here appear to have survived the worst of the earthquake. The church dates back to the 14th century. And here we have what is today a library, but was once a factory, which, like many places around here, produced clothing. Carpi's particularly noted for its clothing. There you have, #Carpi fashion system. Although, unfortunately, a lot of the clothing production is no longer here, and the factories are now quite idle. Now returning into the courtyard, where we can see the slabs. It says there, fare memoria di 40 anni, which I presume means that these slabs went up 40 years ago. I won't go through all the mistakes, which would be a little bit on the boring side, but spelling mistakes, things, for example, not being consistent. If you write a German word with a UE in, like Königshüten, you should therefore fill that, can't be consistent and always write U umlaut with UE. But as can be seen, that isn't the case. Oh, here, obviously I can forgive them for not having Polish letters like Hełmno there, but there we are, Brześć Bugiem. Bugiem is not the name of the place, it's Brześć nad Bugiem. So it's written Bugiem as though it was in a different place. It's the river Bug, B-U-G. And having said that, it was done all those years ago. But why they want to cut words up when they've got so much space at the top and the bottom is beyond me. Strangely as well, they also wrote Litzmannstadt and not Łódź, or Lodz as it would come out, not using Polish letters. Notice the word Chesterhofer there. Samuel Willenberg, who was the last survivor of the Treblinka escape, died yesterday, 19th of February 2016. He was 93. And I wrote something for him on my site on Facebook called History Site, should you be interested in seeing it. I need to point out as well that that music which we hear now is possibly a bit of an exception, because I've been to this square on many occasions and not once have I heard any music. I think the library here is very good. I've gone in a couple of times. I was very impressed by it. saw Carpi described by someone as a pearl of the Renaissance, and it's off the beaten track, and as can be seen, it's quite magnificent. When I first saw this square, I was in the synagogue here, and a woman was talking to me on things related to the Second World War, and I was looking out the window saying how fantastic the square was. As things stand at present, the cathedral on the right is off bounds, so you can't go in there. See, scaffolding is around it. This was the heaviest earthquake in 500 years. The building next to the cathedral is late 18th century. That seems to be perfectly okay, as do the other buildings. And this colonnade is also Renaissance. Let's see how big it is as well from this angle. I was standing here the other night, the square was empty, and I thought it reminded me of Red Square in Moscow, up with the cathedral behind, St. Basil's, the Kremlin, Pio Palace on the left, the shops, that is to say Boom, on the right. Although of course this square here is much smaller, it's 16,500 square metres, and Red Square is around 73,000 square metres. Via Santa Chiara, and to the left of me is the church and convent of Santa Chiara, and the façade dates back to the beginning of the 18th century, but the church itself is much older. You can tell from the buildings around it. On parking, you've only got a certain amount of time. You're allowed to park, and you're supposed to either leave a little counter which says when you arrived, or you write down the time of arrival. See here, Via Berengario, another colonnade, protecting from the rain and the sun. And that was a quick walk around Carpi. And if you're interested in any more of my films, please see my channel, which is www.youtube.com/Alan Heath, or my tourism website, which is www.motorhomefulltime.com.